Bonjour everybody and welcome back to my studio. I know that it's been a while since my last YouTube video, but I've been busy and I have really good excuses, and one of them is actually sitting on my desk right here, and this is the Filmlight Color Award for the Emerging Talent category 2024. So I've won basically an award for color grading, and I was in Poland to receive that award, and that was a fantastic experience. I met a ton of people, and I will do a dedicated video on the topic later. But today we're going to talk about a tool that is very underrated in Davinci Resolve, and it is called the RGB mixer, or the 3x3 matrix, you name it. We're going to talk about that. So without further ado, let's dive in. Alright guys, so I'm going to show you where you can access your RGB mixer tool, also called the 3x3 matrix in Davinci Resolve. So it's accessible right here in that tab. You can also access it from your panel when you're in your primaries tab and you click RGB mixer. And first of all, you might think that you have never used a 3x3 matrix before, but you probably have without even knowing it. For example, when you use a color space transform to move from color space A to color space B, let's say you want to transform from ARRI White Gamut 3 to Davinci White Gamut. A color space transform internally is using a RGB mixer or a 3x3 matrix to move from that color space to another. And I don't want to go into like in-depth like technical things, but this tool is being used for color space transforms all the time. Now, today, we're going to use it in a bit more creative way, and that's what I believe is perhaps a bit more interesting and the reason why you are here. And you have here the red output, green output, blue output. And right now the red output is set to 1 red, 0 green, 0 blue. Green output 0 red, 1 green, 0 blue. And blue output 0 red, 0 green, 1 blue. And that's because everything is mapped normally, okay? So this clip right here is in ARRI White Gamut 3 log C3. I'm moving from log C3 to Davinci White Gamut, and in my timeline level I'm transforming from Davinci White Gamut to Rec 709. I just want to add a bit more contrast upstream with a curve, okay? So that's before, that's after. And now, before we start doing anything, I just want to do something to put my image in a better place. So I'm going to just add slightly more contrast boost right here to make it pop a little bit more. And I'm probably as well going to add a touch more saturation, okay? So first I'm going to try and balance my image for my skin using just my regular like balancing tool, okay? Just want to get the skin to a like decent place. So let's say we are going to park it right here, okay? And I'm going to create another version. And now I'm going to try and use my RGB mixer instead of using my balancing like global wheel for the task. And let's see what we are able to achieve. So I'm going to increase my red in red to revive my red channel a little bit, but I'm also going to reduce my green in red, and I'm going to play those two controls against each other, and I'm just going to look at my image, not really focusing on like any technicals or whatever. I just want to see if I can get to a good looking place using that tool, okay? And I think that I'm quite liking that. All right, okay. So that's the version with the color balance. That's with the RGB mixer. Before, after. Before, after. And I've kind of like, I kind of like got the skin to a similar place, but I just love the version with the RGB mixer a lot more because I've preserved and increased actually that richness in the water. It's just beautifully complementing the skin. I just love that. So that tool has a lot of power. As I said earlier, we're usually, using that tool to move from color space A to color space B. I mean, it's used for that purpose. So this tool is actually very powerful. But if you use it in a creative setting, you can get beautiful results like that. Let's move to another clip. So if I go to that clip, okay, so again, we just have our contrast LUT right here, okay, so before, after. So something that has been implemented with Resolve 19 that nobody talks about is the fact that you have this little A icon here, okay? And it's basically normalizing each channels. So for example, if I leave that off, so that was the case before Resolve 19. So if I change my red in red, you see that my whites are becoming cyan. So it's not preserving my neutrals. If I want to preserve my neutrals, I need all the values to be equal to 1. So let's say I'm sitting at 80 here, it was at 1, I'm at 0.8. So my green would have to be sitting at 0.2. If I put it at 0.2, okay, so now my whites remain white, okay, my neutrals are preserved. But so you have to do the math yourself. But now with Resolve 19, I don't care about that, I just press A, and if I move my red in red, the other channels are going to compensate for one another. So now my neutrals are being preserved, but I'm getting some like hue rotations now, okay? So you can start using that tool in some really creative ways here. And that's what we're gonna try and do here. So I'm going to show you something. I want to normalize my grain, and I'm going to work my red in grain and my blue in grain, and I'm actually going to compress my vector scope. And if you look at my vector scope right here, okay, I hope that you can see it. Yeah, you should be able to see it. So my overall vector scope mass is kind of like shrinking and compressing that way. And this is a way to simplify my color palette. So you can use that for creative purpose as well. You see that it's compressing things nicely. And sometimes, people say that in movies you have like less colors, like the color palette is simplified, and you have that sort of like element because you are like reducing the color like possibilities. You're like simplifying the palettes. For example, your reds can become a little bit more orange and your greens can become a little bit going towards yellow, and you have like a bit of a compression of your palette. Your blues can become a bit more cyan, your cyans can become a little bit more blue, and you have that sort of like compression scheme. And the RGB mixer is actually a very clean and effective way to do that. So before, after, and let's say that we're going to another clip So I'm going to copy this just adjustment that I've made right here. I'm going to add a couple nodes on this clip. I'm going to paste that adjustment. I'm going to just disable that node for a second. I'm just going to quickly sort of like grade that shot before after. So like exposure, let's kind of cool things off just a little bit. And I'm doing this kind of, you know, I have like a light blasting on my screen, so it's harder for me to do it. But okay. There you go. And I'm going to add a little bit more like contrast. Again, before, after, and move to next node. And yeah, so I think I'm good, okay? Actually, go back to my balance, and I just wanna, yeah, kind of cool things off a bit more. Yeah, move to node number 4 and add a bit more sat. Okay. All right, cool. Now let's move to node number 5, and that is the little tool that we built in the previous shot. So if I apply it, see what happens. So you see that my reds are actually becoming warmer. My yellows, you see the backpack in the foreground, it's becoming a bit warmer as well, leaning towards red. The foliage in the through the window, it's becoming a bit more warm as well, and the skin tones kind of becoming a bit more orangey a little bit. So that's a way to simplify your color palette a little bit. You might not want it for every occasion, but sometimes it can be useful. And just for the sake of okay, just playing a little bit, let's go completely nuts. Okay, so I've completely resetted my node, and I want to try and, okay, I don't know, I want to go a bit crazy and create like a, I don't know, I just want to create a look that's making my footage maybe look a bit more interesting. Let's perhaps make those reds stand out a little bit more. Yeah. And you know, when using that tool, I would sort of like want to do it intuitively. I don't really have any look in place here, I just have like a contrast curve, so this is sort of like me playing with the tool intuitively by feel. Okay, yeah, look, so that's before, it's after, before, after. So I'm creating like more separation, I'm making my reds pop even more, kind of like that. And I can even maybe add a new serial node and go to my color slice, and now increase perhaps my red density and be really targeted on that. Yeah, and now if I select these two nodes and I press disable, enable, look, getting more separation, more juice into my reds, and I'm getting some beautiful color separation. I'm actually loving what it's doing. So yeah, guys, I hope that it gave you more creative ideas when it comes to using that tool. Don't be scared to use it. I know that some people want to, I don't know, sell you some tools and so on, and that's great. You know, some tools out there are amazing, but within Resolve you have amazing possibilities. Try and explore all of them, try and use them, and have some fun. And let me know how that goes. I want to know, I'm curious. Alright guys, I hope that you enjoyed that video. I hope that you missed me. Please let me know in the comments if you missed me. And if you haven't missed me, or if you want to say something else in the comments, or something extra, perhaps, let me know what you thought about this video. If you have any other questions, please let me know in the comments. Follow the channel, leave a thumbs up, right? Follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you in the next video. Salut, à la prochaine.